Yes, good morning, good morning, good morning. I am Dr. Helen, your host of the Accelerated Healing Detox Boot Camp, where we build health one day at a time, as well as the host of a faith building boot camp, where we build faith every day, one day at a time. We are excited on this very icy morning. I see some sun outside this morning, so we are getting probably melting out a little bit more today than we have been. I haven't been outside of the house in haven't been anywhere for several days. I've been outside of the house. It's kind of icy and slick, but it's sunshine in my heart, y'all, because we are on day 18 of our Accelerated Healing Detox Boot Camp. Day 18. Look, this is mine. Look at that. That's Dr. That is Doc granola, and I also have my green mango bowl with my blueberries and yum, 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 yum. And it's amazing that I'm still detoxing with this yummy food. I'm still detoxing, and my body is being able to just acclimate and do what it needs to do, which is fight disease. That's what we're doing during this detox. And so we are glad that you are here and joining us for this amazing detox day 18. And you got to know that the time goes so quickly. It seems like we just started yesterday, and here we are at day 18. So I don't know if you're joining us on day 1, day 2, or day 18, but if this is day 1, welcome. And if it's day 2, welcome back. And if it's day 18, look at you, because you are still here. I still have this. I have this. Nobody was able to tell me that they did not cheat during that time. I'm just ready to give away this detox body scrub to the person or persons who did all 18 days without cheating. Huh? Do we have anybody? This is yours. Just let us know. Put it in the chat. We go on the honor system. So if you say you did it, we believe you. And you go on and do it, because you gotta deal with that if you're not telling the truth yourself. So anyway, I want to share with you 45 seconds of my favorite artist and my favorite husband. Here's John Stoddard. It is Make You Believe.
I know it's impossible to see that we could work things out, and it's hard to remember where we started. Drowning in the teardrops, choking on the pain. Can we find a way to fall in love again? I still believe in you and me, baby.
Now, I don't know if you've heard that song before. You might have heard Michael McDonald singing it. And the interesting thing that's so funny about it is Michael McDonald told me, I'm trying not to sound too familiar, but Michael McDonald said, I said, oh, I love the way you sang I Still Believe. And he said, I was just trying to sing like John. I was like, what? Anyway, that was just absolutely amazing. Day 18 of our Accelerated Healing Detox Boot Camp. Day 18. I hope you're getting in the bed by 10 p.m. A little relaxation techniques, Epsom salt in the bath with a hot bath around 9 o'clock. Maybe take a little bit of magnesium glycinate. I usually recommend about 400 milligrams of magnesium before bedtime. You can use that with calcium, about 500 milligrams of calcium. Get a restful night's sleep. Make sure your vitamin D levels are on point. You have your doctor check those vitamin D levels. You don't want to take too much of that, because it can cause some toxicity if it's way out of range. So make sure you have your vitamin D levels checked. You're going to relax. Lavender drops is perfect for a pillow. You can put some lavender drops in your bath as well to kind of help you relax and get ready for the nighttime. I hope you're still doing your squats. I hope you're still doing your squats. You should probably be up to about 10 squats by now. If you're not, let's build up to 10 squats. We're going to do a change on day 21. So make sure you're getting up and doing your squats. We're building our lower body strength because we're decreasing our risk of falls. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And then are you remembering to drink your water? I know you're so excited about chewing and eating food, but are you remembering to drink water? So at least 6 to 8 ounces of 8 ounces of water. I'm still drinking my lemon water in the morning with my L-glutamine, and then water between the meals because we're still detoxing and your body is 70% water, so it wants water. So make sure you keep refreshing that water inside of you. That's how your body can actually process things and get them out of your system without staying in with the waste. So make sure you're drinking your water, your water. I showed you my green mango bowl. Man, this is like so delicious. I'm enjoying it. It didn't have any mango. So I didn't have a mango bowl on the first day that we were supposed to have mango bowls because that was when the ice came. And then eventually my neighbor said that they were going to go to the grocery store. So they ventured out to the grocery store. And so she went and she got some things for me, and mango was one of them. So I have a mango bowl this morning and I missed it. It's so delicious. I know you enjoyed yours. If you did, put it in the chat. Are you enjoying your green mango bowl? How delicious it is. It is absolutely amazing. I also had this amazing all-in salad, right? The salad, the first day that I was supposed to have the salad, I couldn't eat it because I couldn't eat that and the soup. So the tomato soup, the tomato basil soup, it was too much because my salad was so big, I was too full. I couldn't even tolerate it. So last night, I ate a smaller salad and I ate my tomato soup, my tomato basil soup, and it was so delicious. And had the little hint of oregano in there and just with the basil, I don't know, it's a whole new flavor for me, a whole new flavor profile. And I was just excited about it. I have a new recipe for you guys. That is the avocado salad dressing. I have a new recipe for you. So we did have that savory salad dressing that we served with this before, and this is just an addition. So it's going to be in your email today, where you'll get this recipe. And I cannot stop without talking about my delicious kale chips. I put them in my dehydrator. If you don't have a dehydrator, you can use it in the oven, and the directions in the cookbook, in the interval 2 cookbook, kind of tells you how to do it in the oven. I do mine in the dehydrator, and I get it nice and crisp. That way I can just put it in there, and I put it in there for 12 or 24 hours, and it's nice and crisp, and it stores it for me. And then we ate it all up. It was absolutely delicious. I was excited about that. Now, here's my disclaimer. I am a board certified physician. I was trained in both internal medicine and physical medicine and rehabilitation. I did additional training in my fellowship with non-surgical orthopedics and sports medicine. And then I went on to do interventional pain certification. So I have been doing interventional pain for the last 14 years. And then I stopped in December of 2021 when I went full time with lifestyle medicine. My practice is called Pain to Wellness. I did that on purpose because I was practicing lifestyle medicine. I realized people really need this information. So I closed the interventional pain. There are enough people doing that, but not enough people telling people about what food means to their health. And so I decided to close that part of my practice, and I'm doing full-time lifestyle medicine. I see people virtually all the time. And so I am in a patient doctor relationship when they contact me, but I am not in a patient relationship with you on the internet in this forum. This relationship is for educational purposes only. Educational purposes only. This does not constitute the sound advice of your primary provider. So they are the ones that are familiar with you. They know your history. They know your medications. They know if you need to change some medications. They know if you need to decrease medications or remove medications, because this program is powerful at lowering blood sugars and blood pressure. And so we want to make sure you stay in close contact with your primary care provider. Now, today's topic, we continue on, but there I want to just pre-warn you as we go through our hidden figures. I want to pre-warn you, there are a couple of graphic pictures in here. So if you are eating and you have a queasy stomach, I just want to pre-warn you. I want, for me, it doesn't bother me. So if it bothers you, just be aware, and I'll tell you when the picture is coming up so that you will be ready for it. Okay. We're still letting food be our medicine, and this is what we're learning today. We are learning about hybrids. We are learning about hybrids. We're going to continue on with that talk. And today, I want to specifically, we're going to talk about seeds and we're going to talk about the food produce and all of those kinds of things coming up. But today, as we continue to talk about these hidden figures, we're going to focus on hybrids. And then we're going to talk today about something that we all want and that we all love, and that's bread, or that's wheat. But this topic is about not your grandmother's wheat. This is not your grandmother's wheat. I just want you to know that. We're going to talk about that right now. Now, this is how I became interested in. These are my favorite. This is a picture of my favorite parents, my dad and my mom. These are my absolute favorites. My interest, I became interested in this whole field of lifestyle medicine because of these two people, very special people in my life. I lost both of them. My mom first to type 2 diabetes and complications of it, and then my dad to metastatic cancer and complications that included type 2 diabetes. And when I lost them, it was kind of like the worst experience I had in my life. I still remember where I was in 1993 when I lost my mother. It was my third year of medical school. I was just going into that year of medical school, had just passed the boards, part one, called her up on Saturday night to let her know that we were opening up the board results, because I didn't know if I had passed or not, and I was nervous and I wanted her by my side. Called her. She was like, let's do it. We opened it. I passed. She was excited. Went to California. 3 days later, I get a call. My mom is gone. It took no, I just talked to her. It takes no time for a loss of life. I still also remember where I was when I lost my dad. I was in the parking lot of BJ's and had just had our second child. She was being nursed. She was 4 months old. And my sister calls me and tells me about my dad. And I just was like, some things you just never forget. You know exactly where you were. You know exactly what you were doing. I know exactly what I had on. I remember the jeans and the white shirt and nursing my daughter while my husband was inside BJ's. It was another of the worst experiences that I had in life. And in that time, that time that my dad, when I lost my dad, I was hadn't gone back into practice yet, but it was just wow, because I took off some time with my girls, about 15 months, just to be there for them in their first days. And it, because I was busy with my kids, it helped a lot, but it didn't take the my mind off of the fact that I had lost my mom and now my dad. So I must be an orphan now. I mean, I was 28 years old and a 28-year-old orphan, and I'm thinking, oh, at least a 28-year-old when I lost my mom, and then I was 36 when I lost my dad. And here I am, a 36-year-old orphan. And that's really what I felt like. And that really gave me this interest in helping people to avert these chronic inflammatory diseases that are secondary to inflammation. These are things that we can help, not things that we have to deal with. And all we have to do is take control of our appetites. And if we can take control of our appetites and do things differently, then our health comes out differently. And that was the thing that I wish that I knew when my parents were alive, because I do believe that if I knew then what I know now, I would still have them. And so I am interested now in helping as many people as possible to reverse type 2 diabetes, to decrease inflammation in your body, to decrease your risk of developing diseases as we go forward. And this is a big deal because there's like 37.3 million people in the United States that have diabetes. 90 to 95% of them have type 2 diabetes. This is a very significant condition. 10% of the population. So that means if I'm in the room with 10 people, at least one of them is going to have diabetes. And I bet that on this call, we have more than one person that has type 2 diabetes. I know we do. And so that is the thing that we are trying to avert because we want to decrease this risk. 96 million Americans have pre-diabetes. A third of them have no, that's a third of the people, and 80% of those people don't even know that they have it because it sneaks up on you as if it's a secret. But I am going to share with you a secret, and this is something that apparently is a secret because I think if more people knew about this, they would make some changes and we'd have fewer people dealing with some of the things that we have to deal with. So I'm going to bust open the secret today, right? We are looking at millions and millions of people with diabetes. As a matter of fact, if we want to look at this globally, there are 463 million people worldwide. And that's a 2019 statistic, right? We haven't even gotten the latest statistic yet. That's 8.8% of the world population, the adult world population. It is creeping up to 10% like it is in the US. And what does that look like? Imagine the entire United States plus the 129 million people in Mexico all together. And that's how many people around the world have type 2 diabetes. So, why is this important? Well, it's important because the number one cause of blindness is diabetes. It's important because most of the people in the dialysis unit are there because of diabetes and kidney failure. It's important because many people who are dying with heart attacks or that code with and need resuscitation have diabetes. Why is it important? It is because many people who have diabetes also have strokes. And here's the graphic picture coming. Many people who lose a limb Many people who lose a limb are because of type 2 diabetes. This happens because they have poor circulation and poor nervous innervation because you start to lose the feeling in your feet. So say you're walking down the street and you have normal sensation. I have walked and many times stopped and say, wait a minute, y'all, hold on. I have a pebble in my shoe. Let me take it out. When you're diabetic and it advances to the point where it damages your nerves, you won't know that there's a pebble in your shoe. And you'll keep walking on that pebble and keep walking on that pebble to the point where it burrows into your skin and causes a sore. And then you end up having this, because of poor circulation, you end up having this problem healing that wound, and it gets infected and you can't get the cells there to heal the infection. And so you end up losing first maybe a toe, maybe a foot, and then it ends up going up to below the knee and then many times above the knee. And the thing that happens is that 50% of the people who lose a limb secondary to diabetes will lose a second limb. And so they will have bilateral amputations. My aunt had an amputation. Now we talk about genes. People say that, I'm just going to have it because it's in my genes. I have the worst genes in the world. I told you my mom died from diabetes, my dad from cancer and diabetes. Most of my mother's siblings, there were 12 of them, but most of them died with heart disease. One died of breast cancer, one died of complications of diabetes, but all of them have succumbed to the disease, except three that died when they were very young. My uncle was 35 when he had his first open heart surgery. 35 years old, open heart surgery. I know about bad genes. But may I suggest to you that your genes only suggest what may happen to you, but your lifestyle pulls the trigger. And so, why is that important? Because many people die because of type 2 diabetes. It is actually in the top 10 causes of type 2 diabetes. It is leading us at number 8 as one of the top 10 reasons that people die. Complications of type 2 diabetes. It's an absolutely horrible disease. And so I am always fighting to help people reverse that disease, or at least get better so that they don't advance to the point where they lose their limbs and lose these things. We know that when your hemoglobin A1C reaches certain levels, we know at this level you're going to start having kidney problems. We know at this level you're going to start having heart problems. So we are really trying to make sure that we are working very closely with people to change their paradigm. We are going to start with revealing the secret, and this is what you're going to learn during this segment of our talk together. What gluten is and how it affects individuals with gluten sensitivity. You'll also learn how gluten damages beta cells and complicates diabetes. We'll also show you how a diet with ancient wheat and a plant-based diet can improve beta cell function. Gluten is something that we need to investigate. So, what is gluten? Gluten is a protein found in wheat, rye, barley, and triticale. Glutenin and gliadin are the two major components that make up the gluten molecule. It gives it this strong protein network that is responsible for giving the dough its viscoelasticity, as you can see you saw in the video, where he's able to use it and knead it and spread out the dough. That's what the gluten is doing. That whole molecule is doing that. It's also heat stable, and it has the capacity to act as a binding agent, and it's an extending agent. So you'll see it as a food additive in many processed foods. It gives it improved texture, it helps with moisture retention, and enhances the flavor of the food. The structural integrity of it actually comes from the cross-linking of these two protein molecules, and that's what will give it that structural integrity. That structural integrity is what you see when you eat the bread. So you'll see this gluten in pasta, you'll see it in many breads, specialty breads, and natural and other breads as well. You'll see it in cereals, you'll see it in pasta, of course, and you'll see it in processed meat products. And you'll also see it in some things that you may have not expected to see it in, things like potato chips and oats. Oatmeal can have gluten in it. Some yogurts might have gluten in it. So you are able to look for these things. You'll now pay attention. I promise you'll pay attention. You'll see where glutens are involved in food. And sometimes it's actually hidden under other names as well. Now, let's talk about glutenin. Glutenin is responsible for the strength and elasticity of the dough. And then when you look at its counterpart or its accompaniment, the gliadin, this is what is responsible for giving the bread its rise. The gliadin molecules are the parts that carry the antigenic sites, so they are the ones that can cause the immune activation, like what you see in celiac disease. Now, when we look at gluten and this particular part of gluten, the gliadin, we can look at that as it relates to leaky gut. And as it relates, it shows on this picture, if I can show you with my cursor, each one of these is a cell in the gut area. Each one of these cells are held together by this thing called zonulin. They are responsible for keeping the integrity of the gut so that all the cells line up tightly so that when you consume food, it goes through this brush border here, and then what your body needs will be absorbed by those villi that you see on top, and what it doesn't need goes into waste. So for instance, if I'm in the ileum, I'm going to absorb vitamin B12. I'm like, yeah, that's something that I want. If I'm in the colon, I'm going to absorb water because I don't want your stool to be liquidy or diarrheal. So I'm going to absorb the water. But it is because of the integrity of these cells that we're able to do that. When things are absorbed, it goes naturally after absorption into this structure, which is actually the bloodstream. And you can see these are red blood cells that I'm pointing to here. Now let's look at the counter situation where we're looking at a leaky gut situation. Now, if we look at the hot red cells, you'll see that there are these villi, and they're kind of changed because you can see that there are now junctions. These are openings in the cells, and these openings should not be there. That means that this zonulin, the tight junction, has been destroyed. So now, when you eat that same food, the food doesn't get digested. It instead goes in between the cells and goes into the bloodstream undigested. When it goes in the bloodstream undigested, it can cause a bacterial reaction to come into contact with the immune system and our bloodstream. That system is what leads to inflammation. Now, if we were to talk about gluten sensitivity versus celiac disease, there is a difference. So, in gluten sensitivity, these are people that have gluten intolerance, and we're finding many people have gluten intolerance, and many people are not aware that they have it. They're just attributing their symptoms to something else. So, you'll get symptoms like gassiness, abdominal pain, and maybe even some stool changes with like diarrhea. Celiac disease is the extreme case of gluten intolerance, and that's when individuals that will consume gluten will mount an exaggerated immune response with digestive problems like gassiness and abdominal pain and diarrhea, but much more intense than a person who would have it just from being intolerant to the glucose. The way the villi work in the digestion, it is supposed to be able to absorb things from it, as we spoke of before. It's the villi are going to absorb like 2 gallons of fluid daily. And so when you see the normal looking villi, you'll see that there are these finger like projections there. And that's what it's supposed to be. They actually move back and forth like they're in a crowd, moving back and forth with their hands. When you have damage to the villi, it becomes more problematic. The villi become shortened, and they're not able to move back and forth and absorb the way that they would normally absorb. And the gliadin part of this peptide sequence is highly resistant to the gastric and pancreatic and intestinal enzymes in the GI tract. Is resistant to it, so it doesn't get broken down like it would normally do. And so it's not going to absorb that water the way it's supposed to, and so you will see that people become symptomatic. And if I were to show you a cartoon of that same picture, you'll see it from a side view where where the villi are standing up strong, and this is what we're seeing in this next cartoon picture. And next to it, you'll see where the villi have flattened out. That means that the absorption area has flattened out, so it's not able to absorb the nutrients and the vitamins that it's looking for to take it into the bloodstream, which you'll see below here. It's not going to work properly. So how does that manifest? Well, if you are a person who has celiac disease, you're going to get symptoms like this lady with bloating, diarrhea, constipation, and severe stomach pain. She has gas and bloating. She's also got some nausea and vomiting, some loose, greasy, smelly stools, and lactose intolerance as well. So, in those individuals, I absolutely recommend that they are gluten free. You should definitely be gluten-free, because that is the way this gluten is problematic for us. It causes a leaky gut. It's actually the most common cause of leaky gut. And so when we see it damage the gut, then we're seeing this inflammation that will occur throughout the body, because this damage will cause that bacteria to be produced. When it'll produce these chemicals and toxins that will leak across the gut and go into the bloodstream. We call that LPS. This is a lipopolysaccharide. And you can see these little bacteria form going through and causing inflammation. So they're leaving the gut now prematurely, and they're going across going through the tight junctions into the bloodstream undigested and causing this lipopolysaccharide bacterial overgrowth. And is this that causes inflammation and can lead to the damage of the beta cells. I hope that you were taking notes. If you did not take notes, I do hope that you go back and review this information, because we're building something up here. And as we continue to build up, you're going to understand, and you're going to need to go back to your notes and see, wait a minute, I have that problem. Wow, look at that. Look at that. I see sound is missing. Many people cannot hear. I'm going to ask my producer if she can help us out with that. Sound keeps dropping out. Well, I hope that you can hear me. We are live. I'm not sure why the sound is dropping out. It went out a few times. I'm sorry about that. But listen, we don't know. Maybe as the ice is on the internet lines, maybe that's where we're having the problem. But suffice it to say, if you can hear me, can you just say, yes, I can? Okay, I hear you. I hear you. Okay, perfect. So I hope that you were able to get that information. Tomorrow we'll review a couple of things. I'm not sure if you missed anything, but I'll just make sure that we have a clear understanding as we go forward. I would like for you to go back and make sure as you watch them that you're able to understand where we're going and what we're talking about. So as you review them, also, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions about what we've talked about so far, I'd like for you to just put your questions in the chat. As a matter of fact, if there's a place where you may have missed something, you can put that as a question in the chat, and I will go over that for you as well. The breads quickly. You want me to go over the breads quickly again. So you want to go over the breads. Can you go over what part of the breads? That the breads are full of gluten, the breads that have gluten in them is wheat, rye, barley, and triticale. If that's what you're asking. Those wheat, rye, barley, that's where you're going to find gluten, and triticale. You're going to find gluten in those different types of bread. And there is a difference in the gluten that you see now versus the gluten that your grandmother had. And that's why I entitled this, Not Your Grandmother's Wheat. And so you want to know about when I talked about the gluten. The gluten, yes, we talked about the gluten, and the gluten is is one of the proteins that's found in the gluten molecule. There are lots of different proteins in it, but the most important two are glutenin and glutenin and gliadin. Glutenin and gliadin. Those are the two most important. It's the gluten that gives it the strength, and the elasticity of the dough, right? It gives it that strength. And then it is actually the gliadin part of it that helps the bread to rise, right? That gives it that ability to rise. And it is the gliadin part of it that is the antigenic one that will lead to autoimmune diseases. And that is the portion of the protein of the gluten that will lead to these autoimmune conditions. And so And so the gluten information, if you missed most of the gluten information, I hope that that was helpful. Aside from going all the way back, we could do that if you want. I have time, but I don't know if you do, to go back and talk about those things. But that gluten is in, I'm going to just sum it up because I know this is a lot. Gluten causes many different conditions. You can have gluten intolerance. You can have, which is a sensitivity. You can get full blown you can get full-blown autoimmunity, which is like celiac disease. But you can also have gluten damaging beta cells, and the beta cells are responsible for secreting insulin. The insulin is what your body uses so that when I eat a bite of my breakfast here, my green mango bowl, all the sugar that comes in with that will be accompanied by insulin, so that it takes it, that insulin is like an escort that takes the glucose inside the cells where the body needs it. And that's where energy comes from, right? That's your primary source of energy, is glucose. And so your body needs it, and when you consume it, your pancreas is going to secrete insulin. Well, what the gluten can actually damage the cells that secrete insulin. That means that your glucose will come in, but it won't have an escort to take it inside the cells. And because it doesn't have an escort to get it inside the cells, you get more sugar in your bloodstream. You take your finger stick and it's 300 because your insulin isn't working properly. Does that make sense? Gluten has been studied and found to be the cause of this. Now, your grandmother's wheat didn't do that. Your grandmother's wheat didn't do that. And we're going to talk about how we can get some grandmother's wheat because it's still in existence. Does that make sense with, okay, you got it. Perfect. I'm glad. If you heard that. There we go. Now, and Billy says, just look for gluten-free in everything. And that's true, because gluten, you'll find it in so many different things. You'll find it in bouillon cubes, okay? You'll find it in yogurt. You'll find it, obviously, it's in pasta. Obviously, it's in all the breads. Well, in most of the breads. Obviously, it's in, well, not obviously, but in potato chips. Like, why do you need gluten in potato chips? What there's gluten also in gravy, like gravy that you might eat. There's gluten in that. Does it cause H. pylori? It does not cause H. pylori directly, but it damages the gut and makes you more susceptible to developing bacterial infections in your gut. Yes, that's good. Yes, there is good wheat around, and I will share with you how to get some good wheat. Am I familiar with golden berries? There gooseberries are golden. So yes, I do. Gooseberries are golden berries. And they're kind of a little tartish, a little bit, but really, really, really good. So gooseberries are good. Yes, and I'm seeing, I don't see if you have any other questions. Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you too. I appreciate it. It's very painful. And I got to tell you that it has been years that it took me many years before I can say it without crying. And now I'm able to do it, but it took a long time. But it's important for people to know, not gooseberries, but similar. If it's a golden blueberry, it's not real, so don't eat it. We gotta be like, you're gonna see a lot of new things pop on the market. And when they pop on the market, I would admonish you to go look at where it came from, because people are hybridizing different foods and coming up with a new something. right? They're hybridizing and coming up with new varieties of the same thing. And so I would admonish you to go look it up. If you see a golden berry, go look up, where did a golden berry come from? And it'll tell you where a golden berry came from. And if it came from a hybridization, then you know that there may be a problem with it. We don't know, but it may be a problem with it. We just know that hybridization is not always a good thing. Somebody wants to know about diverticulitis. Diverticulitis is a condition where the colon gets these pouches. So your colon is supposed to be like, let's call it a balloon. The balloon is nice and elastic, and especially those long kind of hot dog balloons, they're kind of nice and elastic. Say you blow up one of those elastic balloons, but you didn't blow it all the way, so at the end you kind of got that little tail on it. So imagine your gut having just that smooth elasticity all the way through. So all the food that you consume goes through there. It says, "Oh, I like that vitamin. I'm going to take that. I like that B12 and I'm your ileum. I'm going to pull that in. I like that water. I'm your colon. I'm going to pull all that water in. I'm going to absorb all that water because I don't want you to have loose stools. So I'm going to absorb the water so that your stool comes out firm." Now just imagine that little tail part that's not only on the end, but you get that tail part throughout different parts of that smooth balloon. So it's like a pouch, a little hole that kind of dips into it. So imagine that tail all over that balloon now. So it's not just the tail on the end, which would be a pocket, but that tail would be on different parts of it. That means now when you eat food, food can go into those pockets and get stuck. And if it gets stuck into those pockets, it causes an inflammatory response. And when it causes an inflammatory response, then it gets diverticulitis, and it's very, very painful. Many people have diverticulosis where you have the pouches, but it hasn't caused the inflammation yet. It is inflammation when it's diverticulitis, when it's called inflammation, when it's called diverticulitis. Any other questions? I hope that was super helpful for you. Yes. You said you are no longer suffering because you had a lifestyle change. You're no longer suffering from that. Good for you. Good for you. Well, tomorrow we are going to be talking more about gluten. We're going to be talking more about what gluten does, where it's come from, why it is now a problem when it didn't used to be. And we're going to give you some points and some tips on what to do. All right. And I see goldenberry is a Peruvian fruit. Now, if it came from another country, that's a different story. But if it's native to that country, that's a different story. If it is a hybrid where they made it and made it into something, that is what I am talking about. So I always say to go and look it up and see where it came from. So yeah, I got that. So guys, you're eating food that you can chew, the delicious bowl. I'm so excited about it. 2 weeks to change your palate. So you may have noticed that salty foods are saltier and sweet foods are sweeter. Know that. I am going to be sending you another salad dressing recipe in the email that we're sending out today. And guys, I got some videos. We did get videos, but I actually want more. I think we have 8 videos for the accelerated healing, and we have 5 videos for the faith building. So if you find it in your heart today to just do 2 videos, we'd love it. Here we are at the end of our faith build, our accelerated healing detox boot camp, day 18. Guys, enjoy your day, enjoy the food. We are coming up soon with our carrot tuna that I'm so excited about eating and so excited about introducing to you. So we have 2 more days of interval 2, and then we'll be going into interval 3. If you are And in interval 3, there's also this delicious chickpea chicken salad, which is awesome. So guys, if you did not get interval 3, it will be in the email that you get today so that you can purchase that. If you purchase the bundle, then you already have interval 3. I want you to take your carrots out of the freezer, probably just the day before, because that's going to be what we're going to have on day 21. We're going to have a carrot. I call it carrot tuna. It gives you the consistency of tuna fish, but and flavors that are reminiscent of tuna fish. So good. And we're going to use it and wrap it like in a kale wrap or in a collard wrap, or you can eat it with some vegetable sticks or something, whatever, or you can eat it by itself. You can put it on a salad. I mean, it is just delicious. So you're going to enjoy that. Just wanted to plug that. But Faith Building Boot Camp, 6 a.m. every morning, 8 a.m. every morning, Accelerated Healing Detox Boot Camp, Central Time. The books are available on Amazon, Reverse It and the Reverse It Journal and Workbook, and the Power Pack is at www.p2whealth.com. I always like to keep one on hand because you never know when something may happen. That way I got it and I can get it before I can get ahead of getting sick before I even did that. When you go to the videos, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and please share it so many people can get this information and change their health as well, and they can learn how to navigate through the store, because I know you know, like I do, that faith and health is the new currency, and we are spending ours wisely, and I'm glad we're spending it together. Thank you so much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.